Today marks exactly 1 year of Boxster ownership, and it has been a wonderful year. I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over all of the stuff that I've done to this car already in the first year. I just wanted to take a minute and tell you the story of how I found and purchased this Boxster. You might find it interesting. If you don't care, go ahead and skip to whatever time I put up here. You can skip to that and miss this whole story if you just want to see the updates to the Boxster. I'm living in North Carolina and I'm looking for a fun convertible weekend kind of car. I've always been a huge BMW fan, so I really wanted an E36 convertible M3. That was my dream car back in the day, not the convertible part, but the M3. A guy at work has an E36 M3 and I ran it by him. He convinced me not to buy one because I'd be putting a lot of money into it. Yeah. So he suggested to look into Boxsters, and the only thing I knew about Boxsters is that my buddy Paul owned one. But back in 1998, I was roommates with a guy named Paul, and he lived in Tampa. We both lived in Tampa since he was my roommate. He ordered it, and when he got it in, he fell in love with it, obviously, and garaged it. I would not ever let me drive it. So he's been the single owner. He owned it for almost 20 years. So I call him up on the phone on a Tuesday and say, hey, what's going on, Paul? He says, did you see the ad? And I said, what ad? He said, I just put the Boxster up for sale less than 24 hours ago. So coincidentally, I had tickets to fly down to Tampa 2 days later on Thursday because it was my anniversary and my wife had never been to Tampa. I asked Paul a couple preliminary questions about it. He said that it had just hit 60,000 miles after 20 years. It was in great shape, and I stopped him right there and I said, I'm buying it. I said, sure, go ahead and send me pictures of it and continue the story, but don't sell it to anybody else because this is fate. I'm going to buy this Boxster. So we fly down to Tampa. We use that as our rental car while we're down there. I hand Paul a bunch of cash and my wife flies home on the return ticket because she has no interest in driving from Florida to North Carolina. Can't really blame her. But I got to take the Boxster and give it its initial voyage out of the state. It had actually never been out of the state of Florida before. The furthest it had ever been was Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, so now that we're all caught up, let me show you what I've done to it in 1 year. All right, guys, I had to take notes. There's a lot of stuff here, double-sided, that I have done in this 1 year. So let me go in chronological order of the things I've done. So the front and rear hood shocks were worn, so the lid here wouldn't stay open. So that was the very first thing that got replaced. So here are our brand new shocks. This had a stock head unit in it with the old tape deck, and we now have a Pioneer touchscreen in here with Apple CarPlay and a little USB connector. I changed the power steering fluid on it. Let's see, if we look at the instrument cluster back here, this plastic piece was cracked from where I've heard a radar detector cracked it. So that has been fixed. Underneath, the spark plugs and tubes were all changed. I changed the coolant in the car. That needed to be done. I know that one of the pieces of suspension was leaking. I don't know if I can get down and show you this pretty suspension under here. Yes. So this had stock suspension and one of them was leaking. So it now has Bilstein PSS 9s around it. So yes, they are. So those are beautiful. The next thing was this had the old 4-spoke steering wheel. So it now has a 3-spoke steering wheel. It's much cooler. So rotors and pads were changed. We have the cross-drilled rotors in front and back now. Let's see, next on the list was I removed the stock front bumper and cleaned the radiators in here. They were pretty nasty, and got them all cleaned up. So next on the list, the dash speakers in here have been replaced with the new speakers. The door speakers have been replaced with new door speakers. And after doing all of that, it needed a little more power. So under here, we have a new amp in place of the stock amp in the same location. After getting the audio squared away, we had our first required maintenance. The coolant tank under here, this guy, started leaking all back in here, so that required a brand new cooling tank. So got to go through the pain of that, and while doing that, it was recommended to replace another common failure, the water pump and thermostat. So those were also replaced. Next, we come around to the front and we have our brand new GT3 style front bumper. So this is our first look at it for you guys. As you can see, the vents down there have been sprayed red. Not cool. Gonna be black and gonna be fixed eventually. After that, we come to our calipers. We painted all of those red, gave them our little Porsche stickers. And while we were down in here messing with the calipers, had to take them off anyway, we went ahead and replaced our brake line. Let me see if I can get that in here. Oh yeah, there's a little peak. So we got our stainless steel brake lines in now. Upgraded those and flushed the brake fluid, of course. And then, oh, I forgot to mention, after our 3-spoke steering wheel, the next thing we did was replace the stock heavy boat anchor exhaust with a new exhaust from eBay. And that, of course, came with the drone. So I figured out how to install some resonant eliminators to get rid of that drone. And I still need to adjust those a little bit based on some other people's feedback and good suggestions. And then we get to one of my favorite mods, these LED brake lights. Close this so you can get a better view of them. Oh man, they look so much better than stock. And after doing that, I finally got around to figuring out what the problem was with one of them when it wouldn't light up. And the problem was this right here. Well, behind this right here is the switch for the headlights. It was essentially half working and really old and falling apart, so that got replaced. And after we could fix that, then we got our Toth Ducktail, which replaced the stock spoiler, and I think completes the look of the back of the car. I just love it. And then added the Porsche lettering. And that's where we are today. We still have a ways to go. We got to fix up. Oh, I forgot to mention, obviously it was repainted, so there's going to be a whole video on that. But from a distance, looks really good. There's a ton of close-up spots that need a lot of work. And I still have to reattach my clear side markers. So I just wanted to give you a quick update of where it is after 1 year of ownership. I think it is coming along swimmingly. The next known thing on my list is I'm going to redo the wheels, just make them prettier. They have some overspray on them from being painted, and just some rash, road, your normal curb rash and stuff. So I gotta clean them up, paint them to look new. I have some new center caps that will be displayed very soon. Oh yeah, also along the way somewhere, I got these new floor mats that are very sharp. So yeah, let me know if you have any other ideas or things that you want to see. But it's been a great first year. I can't wait for the next one.